Welcome to Dextor Recons No Man's Sky. Welcome to Dextor Recons No Man's Sky. This is a title that has received quite a bit of negative feedback, and some positive, and I'm going to give you my take on this particular game. In general, this is a space exploration game with a planet-based exploration for mining and some exploration. If you're looking for a game where you just can sit around and run places for a while and whip out a mining tool and dig around and do some mining for stuff, like here's my mining, gonna grab some iridium. If that's your thing, this is a title that you might like. I don't find it to be worth the AAA title price, but it's still fun, and I've played maybe 60 hours worth of this already. There's also an aspect of finding these monoliths on every planet. There's a number of them. You can actually see a couple popping up here. If I put my cursor over it, you'll see this one's off planet. These will give you hints as to the storyline behind three separate races that are in the game. The Viking, the Gek, and I know there's an overarching entity called the Atlas, and I forgot the third mechanical race. But this will give you hints to their language, and that's one of the other aspects of this game that some people find very annoying. I like it. I like the fact that when I first talk to somebody, everything I hear from them is gibberish, and every time I visit one of these monoliths, it tells me a little bit more about their language, and I get one new word, and it's a straight replacement. One of the words they may speak, if it happens to be one I've discovered, pops into the language that I'm going to be here, pops into the discussion so I can see it. And once I get a thorough understanding of the language, I can completely understand what's being told to me. In this, as you can see, I can do some gathering. I gather things with my Multitool. The Multitool starts off with about 6 spaces in it, and to get upgrades, you have to swap to new Multitools. And all of the modifications that you see here, the +2s and the +whatevers, all of these are not transferable from one multi-tool to another. So you have to keep recrafting them when you pick up a new multi-tool. And one of the disadvantages of this is that you can't even disassemble all of this stuff by the time you figure out, oh, look, I'm going to get a multi-tool, because you'll be talking to a new alien. You'll come back with yeah, here's some stuff for you. And he goes, great, well, here, have my multi-tool. Well, you either accept it or you don't. And if you don't accept it, you can't go back in and get him to give it back to you. He won't give you the offer a second time. There are also some weapon lockers on the Viking planets where you can pick up a multi-tool, in which case you can see what the multi-tool looks like, and if you do like it, you can exit back out, deconstruct all of this stuff. If you see when I put my cursor over here, if I push the middle button, it'll deconstruct this down into some copper and iron, and then I can swap over to the new multi-tool and try to recreate all of this stuff. You can't deconstruct for the same amount it takes to build it, so you still have to have some extra stuff in your inventory. So that's a little bit about the multi-tool. There's 3 functions in it. There's mining, which you saw me use. There is the bolt caster, which is used in combat, but you can use the mining beam in combat just as effectively. In fact, I prefer the mining beam in combat. I find it to be easier to use than the bolt caster, which I think is a balancing issue. Last is this plasma launcher, which throws grenades. The grenades are the only things, if you watch me drop one here, they're the only ones that can actually deform this area. I can't, see, look, I can't mine this or break it, but if I throw a couple of grenades in there, I can deform the ground. So from that point of view, that's kind of cool. You can kind of dig your way through stuff if you want to. So that's the multi-tool in a nutshell. You do have the ability to do some scanning, which if I go in here and I just hit, I think it's C, it does a scan, and that scan will bring up and say, look, I've got stuff nearby. I've got something that might give me some kind of power. And I don't know which kind of power it is, but it might. You can also see on my screen that I have a red line in the bottom left-hand corner with a little flame symbol. That's because the planet I'm on has got a lot of heat, and that heat will eventually wear away my exosuit, and I need to replenish the ability to resist that. The next one down with the little bump in there, that's actually my life monitor, and it says how much capacity do I have in my life support to continue going and before I have to replenish it. Both of these things are reasonably well, I mean, you can replace these pretty easily with some very common materials that you can find as you run along. As, for example, if I go around here, I can pick up carbon, which I need to, I'll switch over to my mining laser. I can pick up some iron from these little blocks, like see there's one right there. And in most planets you'll also have some kind of life form. Here, if I hit that, I can get the carbon. In between those two things, I can stay pretty much indefinitely walking around the planet. I have actually stayed wandering on a planet outside of my ship on an extreme hostile planet for days without ever having to worry about replenishing. I mean, I just pick up stuff along the way and I'm good to go. So I don't find the survival aspect of this game to be very challenging at all. In addition to that, when you look at the challenge for this, here's my exosuit. My exosuit has the hazard protection, which is being burnt off by the heat right now, and I can replenish this by clicking on it and clicking either one of these pieces here, or as I said before, I had the iron. Go back in. My keys, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. If I hit here, E here, I can pick out things to build, and I can create this shielding shard out of iron only, which is common. Now when I click on this, I have the shielding shard. So now, boom, I'm good. See, you can see the flame all the way up the top. In addition to this, you can see that I can create enhancements. If I click on this empty spot, here are all the enhancements that I could create. There's various health enhancements, shielding enhancements, mobility, in this case stamina and health. And then, of course, some additional things for your mobility as far as jump pack. One of the things you can do is if you hit the space key, woohoo, you're up in the air. That's kind of neat when you're running around and you want to go from one place like here and you want to go over to the side. But you can see in the lower right-hand corner, my jetpack is running out of power. And if I keep going after a while, it'll give out and I'll fall from wherever I'm at, which can be harmful. I mean, there's fall damage. Watch. Ow. So you can see I took some shield damage up in the upper left-hand corner. But again, most of the time, falling damage doesn't cause anything severe. On almost on all the planets, you have these guys. This dude right here. These are the sentinels that you might run into. And you can see this is the combat. Woohoo! There it is. Now you've seen the combat. It's all over with. And you can loot them for one thing, and they'll either give you some titanium or some other thing you can find. The thing is the Sentinel Force you'll learn in here is a storyline that you will discover, and why are they running around, and how come they're doing the things they are as part of that story. I'm not going to tell you about that. If you want to experience that, go ahead and play the game. So back here, I've showed you can do install of new technology, but if you do, it takes space. In addition to that, you can see that I just looted a neutrino module, and here's another thing that I have a problem with in this particular game. There's an inventory system, and I don't mind having a game where you have to balance your inventory Minecraft-like, where you gather stuff and it stacks up in your inventory, and sooner or later you have to make a decision as to what you do or don't keep, but you cannot stack like things in any amount. A warp cell, for example, takes up a whole space, period. That's it. You can't get any more. This neutrino module takes up a full space. This effigy takes up a full space. So you can't stack any of this stuff where it feels like you should be able to stack some of these things at least a few times. I mean, even this carite sheet feels like I should be able to stack it to be maybe 4 or 5 in a spot. You will find that as you create things, if I go over here, for example, let's look at this, I need plutonium and platinum, which I could go out and collect, or I might need a carite sheet, and sometimes you'll need a few of them. So that can be sometimes a bit challenging. In addition to that, you will start off with something about, I think it's 12 of these spaces. So you get, what, about that much right there. From there to there, to manage. And so 3 of them are already taken up by life support, jetpack, and hazard protection. Those 3 are required for you to be on your exosuit. So you're left with 9 slots to balance. So that's why you don't see me with a whole lot of enhancements here, is because for me, I tend to do a lot of exploring, a lot of mining, and the combat is just not challenging me enough, and the environmental survival is not challenging enough for me to even bother taking up more spaces, so don't bother with it. So the next thing I want to say is, when you want to expand, you can see I have the maximum number of slots. There's 48 slots total for the exosuit. There's a maximum possible of 24 for the multi-tool. You just have to find the right multi-tool with the 24 slots. So when you find the exosuit, you keep the exosuit. You don't have to swap in and out, which is at least nice. And you will find during your explorations little pods, escape pods kind of things that will grant you one more slot. And it just starts adding slots one at a time until you get to all 48. And actually, I kind of like that part of the expansion of the exosuit. It feels a little bit better. In addition, there's the Starship. The Starship you saw back behind me, this is a picture of what it looks like. And currently I'm at 28 slots. You can get a Starship up to 48 slots, but every time you swap into a new ship, you have to transfer your cargo over, but you cannot transfer your mods. So all of these modifications that I've put in, I can't transfer. And I've put these in only because I need them for space survival. The handling of the Starship in space sucks. It's a slug in space. Even though I think I've got a fairly decent, I think this is almost a fighter ship. I'm not sure it is or not. But I have put in all of the maneuverability I can by putting in the pulse jet, the photonics core, and the warp reactor theta. Even though it really doesn't give you any measurements about how good it is. And that's another beef I have, is all of the modifications really don't give you any indication of how good, how bad this is. At best, you get something like this. It says +1. What does that mean? +1 to what? +1 to 10, +1 to 100, +1 to 1,000. I don't get it. So there's really no feedback or indication as to just how good is this. And in fact, you'll find that there are various upgrades. And let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to transfer this out to my ship, or out to my exosuit. When I click on this, you can see that I can build Warp Reactor Sigma, Warp Reactor Tau. Well, if I don't know my Greek language, I really don't even know which one's better than the other one. It doesn't even tell me in the description very well as to which one's better than the other. So I have no way to know, do I want to upgrade this or do I not want to upgrade this? Furthermore, do they stack? If I put in a Sigma and a Tau, which I can do, does that give me more? Or is it all just taken by the best one in there? No feedback. So this is a consistent theme in this game. It feels unfinished. For all intents and purposes, this is a beta game. And it is a beta game that I would put in the category of an indie developer, which shouldn't qualify for a AAA price. $60 for this game is way overpriced. Don't spend your money on this game unless you're like, oh, I just got to do the exploration thing. It looks so cool. If you run back into your ship, and you can see up above, I have right in the middle, center, top, I've got this navigation. If I go to either side, you can see the ship icon there. And if I put my cursor over the icon, it'll tell me I can get there in about 4 seconds if I make a run for it. And if I jump in, now my ship, you can see that the flame for the exosuit is recovering. That will recover. Life support doesn't. What? I can't plug in my suit to my ship and recharge my life support? Again, to me it feels like this wasn't beta tested. And in fact, if you look into some of the news on this, I don't think it was. This is a PC port from a console game, and it was sold through Sony. And Sony did do beta testing on the console, but it seems like they didn't do any beta testing on the PC. And the folks who built No Man's Sky actually had to hire a QA team after release. So clearly some communication things happened between the developer and Sony, and some people thought something was happening, others didn't. And it left you with a game that's incomplete. The next thing in here is, so you've seen this, to get an upgrade for this you have to either talk to another race that has a ship. You can go talk to a ship and the pilot pops up and says, do you want to trade or do you want to buy my ship? You can buy the ship for an upgrade. The cost for an upgrade, for me to go up to the next level upgrade, is like 14 million credits. You can see I'm at 10 million credits here. And when I sell all this stuff in my inventory, I'll get maybe a million if I'm lucky. Unless I go somewhere and find a few of the places where you can really harvest some serious cash. In general, that's not the case. So you could be harvesting carbon and iron for days and take a very long time before you can upgrade the ship. And then when you do get to upgrade the ship, you get to look forward to having to recraft all of the mods that you put in, which really entices you not to build any mods until you've maxed out your inventory on the Starship. So again, in this particular case, I wouldn't put in a whole lot of mods until you've got 48 slots. So those are some of the things in here. Now, one other thing that you will find that some people like, some people don't. If I hit the E key, I'm going to jump on out. When I want to select something, holy smokes, options, sound. The music is all right. The special effects can be overbearing at times. There we go. We're back in. When I want to get into the ship, I hit E key and it doesn't do anything. I have to hit it and hold it down. Pardon me. And you can see that it takes a moment for it to fill up the circle before it says, "Oh, you really meant to do that?" Yeah, I really didn't mean to do that. In some cases, I actually like that as a more tactile feel of I really intend to do something. But in some cases, like when I'm navigating some menus, I don't want to have to do that. In here, I don't want to have to hit the X key, and hold it down to actually transfer stuff over. You can see I'm holding it down to transfer things over. So you've seen some of the things about on the planet. Let's pop the ship up. We're going to maneuver around here. I think I saw, we'll do a C to do some scanning. I think I saw someplace to look at. Where are you? You'll see a little green question mark when there's something you can find. I guess I'm not going to see it. All right, fine. We will move forward a little bit. So this is your navigation in the ship. I mean, I'm going back and forth. I'm swinging my mouse back pretty significantly, and you'll notice that moves back and forth. One of the odd things about it is if I use my A and E key, so if I use my A key and turn it this way, notice all I've done is rotate the ship. It doesn't actually start to bank. I actually have to go, if I go up and down, it slows it down. So if I want to turn, I have to use the mouse, and I can actually turn sideways back and forth. So it's not like a fighter sim at all. It doesn't feel like that one bit. So there's one of the question marks. If I go over here, I'm likely to see some kind of a point of interest. And at this point of interest, I'll have a few options that I can do. And in this particular case, I hit the E. It says, okay, I'm going to land you. And you see, here's one of those drop pods I talked about. This is what it looks like when you want to add one more slot to your exoskeleton. And by the way, I'm in a storm right now, and this is supposed to be really difficult for me to survive, and I'm paying no attention to it. Really? All right, so let's get back in here. The next thing is you can get up into the air. And let's say I want to go back to where that monolith is. See, I keep trying to use a fighter sim. I can't. Where's my monolith? The monolith is no longer on my scope. I visited it. Now it's gone. That's the other thing that I think is a glaring miss in this game. There is no navigation available to you. There's no map. There's really no way to set waypoints of any value. So it's strictly just an exploration, and once you find it, you move on. Good luck on finding your way back, unless you've got some seriously good spatial awareness internally yourself. You're not going to be able to find anything. Now, if I go up and jump into space, which is what I'm going to do now, pop up into space. There I am. I'm above the planet, and I'm trying to come around. But I mean, it's a slug. It's hard for me to see what I'm doing. And in this particular case, I can see what this planet is. I can see what name it had. And let me see if I can find another planet. I think there's two in this system. And see, again, I can't bring up a map and say, where are all the ships? I'm just scanning the skies, hoping to find it. And I think if I go up, it looks like there might be... There we are. Now I can see another planet. I'm trying to land on it. There we go. And this is telling me that it was discovered by somebody. This is the, quote, multiplayer aspect. When I explore a system, if I'm the first person to find a planet, which is not unlikely, I get credit for the person to discover it. That's not me. I didn't discover this planet. Reltzer 99 did. In system, I can do the pulse engine to go further. And this will allow me to find my way to a starbase or to this Atlas interface, which is a story plot. In addition to that, if I want to now, I can hit the M key, which you would think would be normally a map. And this is telling me, all right, here, what are you doing? So there's an Atlas interface. I'm moving my mouse around, and it's not conducive for how you move. See the cursor in the center? That's it. So if I want to, I go along this line, and it says, well, that's following some objective. I think the one that's up at the top. So if I'm going to left click or right click out of that, now I'm in free exploration mode. And if I hit the E, this tells me my different objectives. I can go free exploration, towards the galactic, or towards the Atlas interface. Those are my options. Again, I'm doing a scan here to see if it actually give me anything. If it will, it'll be the first time I've actually got something. Oh, look. Discovery status unknown. All right. What do I do with it? So this is the last part of the whole review. In general, the game feels incomplete. I hope they come back and do patching. God forbid they should do some kind of DLC and charge you for it. That would be a horrendous mistake in my place. I mean, they've already taken a beating over this game. They really need to come back and try to make things right. But if you're looking for that multiplayer combat interaction where you get to build bases and things, this is not the game. If you're looking for something to be able to go out and explore and mine and see different planets, that's one of the things about this game. There is effectively an infinite number of planets. Kudos. It's a new technology for that. That's great. You can see that on the planets there's a lot of detail. Every planet's got stuff going on. And they have an engine that will dynamically build the various creatures and minerals and the geological formations. All of those you can scan, assuming nobody else has scanned it before, and get some money for it. If somebody else has scanned it, you don't get any money for it. So the longer the game is out, the less chance you will have of just being able to grab a bunch of cash from doing scans. But again, given the fact that there's so many planets, they've argued you're not going to have that issue. Well, as you already saw in if I back out of this, I've gone to 4 planets, and I'm already encountering a planet that's been discovered by somebody. So it's not that it's inconceivable you're going to run into it. In fact, it's more than likely you will run into somebody who's done a scan of a planet. So, in short, multiplayer combat sim, don't buy the game. Definitely not going to be happy with it. If you're an exploration type and you want to discover a language and interact with, mining and doing some bit of crafting, which I would consider to be simple levels of crafting, then this title might be interesting to you. Even said, at a price of a AAA title, currently it's on Steam for $60 for the game, it just isn't worth it. There's one of the ships that have popped in that I could go attack, and eventually if I hang around here, pirates will come in and I'll get a chance to fight the pirates. The pirates don't drop loot. I don't get it. So that's my review of No Man's Sky. My general synopsis, don't buy the game. It's not worth the AAA title. It is very similar to a very old Electronic Arts game called Starflight. If you're into retro games and you like this idea, go look that one up. Play that one. That'd be better. Or just save your money until they patch it. Thanks again for watching Dexter, in this case Dextor Recons, No Man's Sky. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching another episode of Dexter Plays. Please leave a like or subscribe, and post any tips or tricks down below.